Good afternoon, good evening, good morning, fabulites. I got a question for you. What opens with June feeling guilty about having this relationship with Nick, and what closes with June vowing not to be in a box? If you guessed The Handmaid's Tale, episode 8, season 1, The Jezebels, then you're correct. Thank you for clicking. If you'd like to stick around, clicking and sticking, if you'd like to stick around for my review recap of this episode, please do. Super excited to watch it. I really like this show. It's been so long. It's probably been a week, but it seemed like forever. Although I just did one a minute ago, so it's been a week since I did episode 6, but I just did episode 7 like right now. Like I just watched them one after another, so it hadn't been that long now. But I mean, I like The Handmaid's Tale. Do you like it? I love this show. Okay, so if you want to see how I get from opening to closing, or how we get from opening to closing, come along, join me on the journey. Sit back, relax, and let's go. Okay, so we see we're in Nick's place, and June in voiceover, so she's thinking or whatever, you know, Luke is alive. I wish this story showed me in a better light. Maybe in a different story I would not be such a weakling. Oh, Nick, I should have been memorizing Luke, but I'm here memorizing Nick, and Luke is receding. I'm here because it feels good, and I'm here with Nick because I don't want to be alone. This is not rebellion against the patriarchy. That's Joan. I'm just joking, Bella. Bella's like, everything all right? I'm like, yeah, we cool. Okay, so then we see Nick at his desk, and he at a desk. It's like in an office type, storefront type situation. He's job hunting. It's like a employment center. And he has not been a steady worker. The person who's interviewing him is like, you know, you got fired from this job. You wasn't at this job long, blah, 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 blah. And then there's people behind him who are waiting to get jobs. And they hear this. One of the guys in particular, I guess, is kind of like, he's a loser. Move on. Keep it going. And, you know, the man is like, you know, the boss man or the hiring man is like, it's not much I can do for you. And, you know, again, I said the others are getting impatient. Get out, loser. And then there's a fight that breaks out. Nick gets kicked out of the employment office situation, and the hiring man follows him, and he treats Nick to a coffee, and they chit chat. And I wasn't really, I guess, paying good attention to Nick's story, but it's something about his brother, and you know, the man is like, well, you're taking care of your brother, and that's why you can't be a steady worker or whatever. I don't even know. But basically, the hiring man is also a recruiter for a group, and they have chapters in 30 states, and they're called the Sons of Jacob, and they want to clean up the country. And he wants Nick to come on to a meeting. He says, you know, maybe this country, we not getting kids. God's not giving us kids because we're all about profit and not about people, or whatever he's saying. And, you know, come to the meeting, and it may be a job in it for you. So, you know, that happens. And then we're back in June's room. Mr. is laying on the bed when June comes in. Let's do something different. This is Mr. And June is like, Monopoly? And Mr. is like, no guessing. Let's get those legs together. And he shaves her legs, and she makes a, you know, she's saying in her voiceover that usually she gets shaved one time a month, with Rita waiting outside, the Rita waiting outside to make sure she don't have, if she had a razor too long, they think she might kill herself. So the Martha waits to make sure she don't kill herself. I don't even know why they have to shave her legs for the ritual, because he basically just hold her around the ankles and have sex with her. I mean, I was surprised to hear that she got her legs shaved once a month. But anyway, he's shaving her legs, and she's like, oh, he's done this before. And then he gives her makeup. Do you know how to put it on? And he holds the mirror while she applies it. And he has a outfit he holds up. It's all sparkly with high heels, and he hopes it fits. He had to guess at the size, and it's short and revealing, and she puts on the dress, and then he lets her hair down and fluffs it out, up or whatever. And he says, tonight I'm taking you out. Shall we? Mrs. Waterford went to visit her mother. She won't be back until tomorrow. Okay, so then they're driving around and he's showing, you know, kind of like giving her a tour, like, this is what we improved over here, and then over there we've improved this, and, you know, this is better and that's better, and, you know, whatever. He's talking, and Nick is driving, and Nick says, you know, we're coming to a checkpoint, and Mr. is like, put up your hood, Mrs. Waterford. So they pretending that she's Mrs. Waterford, because at the house they had asked about the papers or whatever, so I guess they got to have papers, you know, ID, show ID or whatever. And then you know, they go on after that checkpoint, and then Nick is like, we're almost to the river, and then Mr. is like, you know, you have to get down, or I'm going to have to ask you to get down on the floor, you know, no wives are allowed here, no women are allowed past here. And then after, you know, they pass the checkpoint, was that scary? Was it exciting? And it's more excitement to come. And then we see a flashback. It's 3 men in a car, and they're strategizing, and Nick is driving. And they're talking about, we got to gather up all the fertile women and impregnate them with men of superior stock. And that's concubines. The women will never go for that. The wives will never go for it. Oh, we'll call it a ceremony. They love when you call anything a ceremony. And we've got, you know, we've got biblical precedent for it, and the way to get the wives to go along with it is to have the wives there, so that blah 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 blah. So, you know, we hear the bits and pieces of the plan come together. Nick is hearing bits and pieces of the plan coming together. So then we're at a building. This is back in present day, and Mr. says to June, you know, you are contraband. This is the back entrance. I can't use the front door. And then Mr. takes off her cloak and puts on earrings and maybe jewelry, and, you know, and Nick is kind of looking, and then Mr. says to Nick, he don't notice Nick looking, I don't think, but he says, you know, isn't she beautiful? And Nick is like, you know, yes sir. We've seen his demeanor throughout the episode. He's kind of like, I don't see nothing, I ain't gonna say nothing, you know, type. You know, if somebody say, oh, I'm sorry you had to see that, he's like, see what? You know, that's kind of the type of driver he is. He the type of driver, he get the impression of the type of driver that you want to have, because he ain't gonna reveal no information to nobody. So then they're walking down the hall. They enter a room. It's like a nightclub brothel type situation. It's lots of skin showing. And, you know, throughout the series, we haven't really seen any cleavage or legs or tight clothes, or, you know, people have been, for the most part, very modest. The wives' dresses are kind of fitted in a way at the waist, but it's really not very sexy at all. So now we're like in a skin festival. We seeing all kinds of, you know, boobies and booty and, you know, whatever. So June is like, well, you know, who are all these people? And he tell her, she like, no, the women, because he tell her about the men. And Mr. is like, oh, women who couldn't assimilate, some who were working girls before. That woman over there is a sociologist or whatever. You know, and then June sees Myra. And and Myra sees June, and then Myra gets up and she leaves. And I assume she was going to the bathroom, maybe because I read it in the book. But then June excuses herself to the ladies' room as well. When she gets to the ladies' room, she doesn't find Myra immediately. But then when she, you know, then eventually Myra comes in. And Myra's like, I'm so sorry I left you at the train. I didn't know what else to do. And June is like, they said you were dead. And Myra's like, what did you do to get sent here? And then June is like, he snuck me in. And then Myra's like, another power trip. And then a woman is like, you know the rules, like, get back to work. And then Myra's like, bye, girl, fix your face, because, you know, they've been crying, they happy to see each other and everything. And then we see Nick, he's doing like a black market exchange with, you know, hair dye and drugs, and, you know, they doing a black market exchange with a woman who appears to be dressed to me as a Martha, but she was a chef, because she said something like, oh, I'll make you my famous, you know, world famous whatever concoction of food. And you know, we find out that she's like, sometimes that she's Nick's lover, but not like in a deep way, because when she indicates, hey, you know, let's have sex, and Nick is like, no, not tonight. And then the chefy Martha is like, okay, pleasure doing business with you. Like, she seemed kind of like, you know, I guess she probably have, you know, whatever. She didn't seem overly invested. But I got the feeling that Nick, on the other hand, was feeling a way about June and Mr. You know what I mean? Okay, so then we see June coming back from the bathroom. She's approached by a man. Hey, I haven't seen you here before. And then Mr. comes up. He's like, she's with me. And then the man is like, oh, great work on Mexico, sir. And then we see Nick watching Mr. take June out of the main room. And then we see Nick flashing back to Martha Rita. That's the woman Rita who works in the Waterford house, and she's screaming and she's screaming, and we see a handmaid hanging, and then Nick comes up behind her and he moves the bed over to where the handmaid is, and he pulls her body down. She's hung herself, she dead. So it's also interesting, like all of the hangings, and I guess people hanging themselves too. And Rita continues screaming and crying, and she's saying, no, no. And then we see another scene where the body is being taken away. The handmaid is being taken away. And it's like Rita is there, and Nick is there, and the Mr. is there, and Mrs. Waterford is there. And then Mrs. Waterford, you know, gets kind of close into the Mr. and she says, what did you think was going to happen? As she goes into the house, you know, so she feels that he's complicit in what's going on. Now, in the book, she had found in her cloak pocket a lipstick or something, so she knew that he was having relations with the last handmaid outside of the purview of the prearranged, ritualized three-way rape situation. You know, you can't be raping her except for when I'm there. So anyway, I don't know if that's the same situation here. And we see then the next scene is we see Mr. talking. So you know, and he's, oh, you know, blah 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 blah, I feel like I got a target on my back, blah 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 blah, purges. And you know, June, oh, I guess that's what happens when you're the boss. She's such a good handler. You know, some women are really good at handling men. I get the feeling from how she's written and how she plays it that she is a good handler. You know, and he's like, oh, you do understand me. What do you think of our little club? I thought you'd like it. I thought we could just be together. We could just be together. No need to be quiet. And then we see that June has tears on her face. So while Mr. is all, woohoo, he all excited and thinking he doing something nice to her. And even, I guess he is in his head doing something nice for her. But if you want to do something nice for me, then quit raping me every month and give us free. You know, shit, that's what was nice. To not be, you know, on lockdown. I don't want you owning me and regulating me and running me. I'm a free out. So anyway, and then we see June sneaking out of the room or leaving the room. And as they're walking down the hall, as she's walking down the hall, it's like, oh, it's a hotel. I don't really know what I thought it was before, because I guess by them coming in the back way, it seemed like an office building or a restaurant. I didn't really know what it was, but it's a hotel. And as she's walking down the hall, you can hear noises coming from the other rooms, you know, that she's passing. You hear moaning and yelling and laughing and talking. At one point, she sees a couple having sex, or a man having sex with a woman. Then the elevator door opens and it's a man licking a woman's stump where her hand used to be. And then they get off the elevator and June gets on, and then she finds Myra. And June is asking Myra, are you okay? And Myra's like, oh, I'm great. I got to Boston, to the Quaker family. They killed that family and that had helped me. And then, you know, I got a choice between the colonies or being a Jezebel. You know, your pussy will get used up in a couple of years, but you get all the drugs you want and you only have to work at night. You know, there's the only way out of here is, I know the way out of here. The way out of here is in a black van with your feet first, because June could tell that the woman was kind of demoralized. So she's like, you know, we're going to find a way to get you out of here. And so June tells her, you know, Luke got out, and Myra is like, well, he's not us. You know, we are alone, and you got to take care of you. And June hugs Myra, and she's like, you know, I love you, and she's patting her and everything. So okay, so then we see Nick is kind of assigned as an eye. He gets info on the underground. Like, he's not a public, you know, spy. He's like, you know, works as a driver and gets information about people. And I guess he's trying to like root out corruption in the commanders, you know, tell they business so that they get arrested and in trouble for what they doing wrong. And the guy is, one of the men is saying, you know, maybe the guy who recruited him is saying plain clothes intelligence is the best info, you know, we're helping to clean up Gilead. And the man said, you know, it was a sad thing with the Waterfords and their handmaids, you know, watch him. We're seeing, and then as this is happening, we're seeing another man who's being brought in to the building. You can tell he's like been captured. And he's dressed in a suit or whatever, so I get the impression that he's a commander. And the boss man is, you know, and Nick is giving some information about him. He did this, he did that, they say this or they say that, you know, the Martha said blah 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 blah. And then the boss man that Nick is talking to is like, oh, that'll be easy enough to prove. So, you know, we've kind of established his character as an eye. He can kind of at his discretion give information or not give information. So then we see Mrs. Waterford being greeted by her hubby at the door, and Nick is watching. And then she, you know, she asked Nick to get her bag, and then Nick comes in through the back door with Mrs. Waterford's bag, and June is sitting at the table and she smiles at him, and Nick is stone-faced as he's walking by, and June is kind of pensive, and then she says, you know, is she home? You know, Nick, I'll see you later, Nick. And Nick is like, you know, we can't do this anymore. And June is like, you know, I had to go with him last night. I didn't have a choice. I don't have any choice. You gonna talk to me? Talk to me. Talk to me, babe. I don't know anything about you. You won't tell me anything. I don't know who you are. Is this enough for you? You want to polish his car? And, you know, Nick is like, it's too dangerous. You could end up on the wall. And June is like, at least someone will remember me, care when I am gone. And then she goes to leave. And Nick is like, wait, my name is Nick Glenn. I am from Michigan, or whatever he says. So then we see June going up the stairs, and Mrs. Waterford, you know, is like, Alfred, I brought you something. I had it in my bedroom as a child, and I thought you might like it. You know, here's the key. And, you know, June is like, thank you. And it's a music box. She opens it up. And then June, we hear her in voiceover, and she's like, this is my interpretation. My gift, a girl trapped in a box. She only dances when someone else opens the lid. Someone else winds her up. And then we see Joan writing in the closet, and she says, you are not alone. And then she wipes it off. So I wasn't really clear about that. I guess they can't really have access to pens and pencils. What would they need them for? But it looked like it was written in yellow chalk or something. I didn't really understand. And then we hear her in voiceover saying, if this is a story, I'm telling, I must be telling it to someone. There is always someone, even when there is no one. I will not be that girl in the box. So she about to break out the box, but she been breaking out the box in her own way. That's The Handmaid's Tale. I don't know if I'm gonna be able to get another episode in before my rehearsal, but that's what I got, Fabulites. Thank you so much for watching, liking, commenting, subscribing, and for being you, being fabulous, and being fabulous you. Peace.